Whether your team is undergoing an agile transformation or knows all the agile principles inside out, you still need to track their performance. This is where KPIs, metrics come into play. But there's a problem. There's too many to choose from. In this video, I'm going to share 7 must-know, must-track metrics that you need to start using right now with your Scrum team as a new Scrum Master. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share what might go wrong if you use these metrics. If you start tracking metrics with your Scrum team, a lot of things can go wrong, so beware. You better watch till the end of this video. Let's start with why. Why are we even tracking metrics in the first place? Well, Agile metrics are standards used to measure, to monitor the performance of a Scrum team, of an Agile team, of a product, of an organization, of an Agile transformation. Without these metrics, it might be hard to figure out whether your product is doing well. Customers are loving your product. What about your Agile transformation? Is it successful or not? Is the Scrum team performing efficiently, effectively? Are they a high-performing team? You really can't improve what you don't measure, right? Metric number 1, time to market. Time to market is the difference in time between the first rough idea of an Agile project, a feature we want to develop, product we want to develop, to when it's released to the actual customers. The difference in time. Your Scrum team needs to be continuously working on optimizing the time to market. We need to have an idea and release it in the next sprint, in the 2 next sprints. Why? Simply because we need to beat the competitors. Business is fast and we need to be fast, especially when you're working in technology. It's always changing. You need to be number 1. You need to be the first to release, and you need to have a low time to market. If you look at time to market with an Agile principle lens, Agile manifesto lens, we need to release early. And there's a reason why we need to release early. To get feedback, we release early, continuously early to get feedback, because we don't know what the customer wants. We are assuming what the customer wants, but we need to test our assumption. We need to release early to test our assumption, to get feedback from customers and produce something better. Release it, get feedback, produce something better. That's why you need to continuously be reducing your time to market. And it's easy to do when creating an epic, a user story on Jira or any other tracking tool that you use. There's a creation date. That's when you got the idea. And you calculate the difference between this time and when the user story or the epic was released to customers or deployed to the production environment. Metric number 2, velocity, which refers to the amount of work a Scrum team can finish in a sprint. It's a very popular Agile metric, might be the most popular Scrum metric. You can use it to measure the rate at which value is being delivered to a business, to customers, and it's really easy to calculate. You have your measure of work, user stories, count the number of user stories completed in a sprint, or story points completed in a sprint. You take the total of the past 3 sprints and you divide it by 3. So it's the average rate of completion of work for past 3 sprints. As an example, if you're using story points and the team is completing 100 story points every single sprint for 3 sprints, but 300 points divided by 3, because 3 sprints, we are calculating the average here, so it's 100 points. 100 points every single sprint on average the team is doing, and you can use it to predict the future. If you have 500 points in your backlog, you know until the next release you need to complete 500 story points. You already know you're doing around 100 points per sprint. So it's going to take you 5 sprints to complete everything in the backlog in order to release. You can predict the future using velocity. Extremely important and powerful metric if used correctly. Metric number 3, 2 things: burn down and burn up chart. Burn down, very simple to understand. It's a visual comparison of 2 things: the amount of work completed versus the amount of work remaining. You can see what it looks like on the screen right now. I recommend to Scrum teams to use the burn down chart every single day. Look at it every single day. You need to know, how are you progressing towards the sprint goal? How many user stories are you completing? How many remaining? Will you be able to meet your sprints commitments? Because remember, in the sprint planning, you made a commitment in terms of user stories, in terms of sprint goal. And this visual comparison can show you every single day or every time you open it, how close are you to to the sprint goal? What do you need to do? What's remaining to do? And as a team, you can make the right decisions with this additional data. That's the burn down chart, and it's used for the sprint, the amount of work remaining for the sprint. The burn up is usually used for the total project, the epic, the big feature we are trying to release. It helps you see progress towards completion of this feature, progress over time, the total scope of a project, what's remaining, how much is completed. And the cool thing with a burn up chart is that you can see scope creep, scope changes. If you look at it, you'll see that the product owner is adding user stories in the middle of a sprint. Is continuously beefing up the project scope, and there's no end in sight because of this. Again, this additional data can be used by the team to make decisions in terms of priority, in terms of capacity, and now to ensure that we are delivering the right things to the customers. Metric number 5, 2 things again, lead time and cycle time. Starting with lead time, very easy, very simple to understand. The moment the customer makes a request, or a business person makes a request, or a request enters the product backlog, to the moment the customer actually gets the feature, the product, that's the lead time. And the cycle time, it's within a sprint. The moment the request enters the sprint backlog, the sprint is starting, how much time does it take until the request is completed or considered done? Lead time is obviously higher in terms of time than cycle time, because cycle time is within a sprint and lead time is the whole process. Very important that you measure these things, because again, time to market, we want to deliver early. What are we doing to continuously reduce the lead time, the cycle time? Because reducing these 2 things will make us release early, provide more value to customers, get feedback so that we can improve our products, improve our features. Metric number 6, the team satisfaction, team happiness, work-life balance, the work environment. Survey the team, continuously get feedback from the team. We want to know if they are happy, if they love what they do, if they are motivated, if they are driven, because happy people perform better, they are more effective, they are more efficient. That's your role as a Scrum Master. One of your roles is to ensure that there's no damaging conflicts in a team. Conflicts is good. Obviously conflicts is good, but conflicts shouldn't be reducing the trust in the team or the psychological safety in the team. All these things you need to be continuously measuring. And you don't tell the team how to become more happy or how to be more driven or motivated. You let them tell you. You're just facilitating sessions. If you feel that the team is not happy or not driven enough, it might be because they don't really understand why they are working on this product. What's the ultimate goal here? Maybe you need to facilitate this session and let them tell you why they are not motivated, and then let them implement actions in order for them to be motivated. You're just here as a Scrum Master to facilitate sessions, not tell them what to do. Metric number 7, team member turnover, or people being replaced in your Scrum team. New members joining, members leaving. Why? If there's a high turnover, there might be a problem in the team or organization. Maybe the salary is not enough. Maybe we don't have skilled people. That's why we need to be continuously replacing people. Maybe the interview process is the problem. You need to find out why, but you need this data, and always compare this data across, compare that to the other teams in the organization. You need a global view here, because it might not only be your team the problem, it might be organization-wide. There's a high turnover, and a low turnover usually means that people like what they do, because someone who doesn't like working in a team will usually find a way to leave the team or even leave the organization. As promised in the beginning of this video, we also need to talk about the dark side of metrics, of tracking metrics, especially for new Scrum Masters. When joining a Scrum team, an existing Scrum team, or a new Scrum team, we usually go into all these metrics that I mentioned. We track all these things because stakeholders want them. They want to see that the team is performing well in terms of velocity, or the team is tracking these metrics because they were told to do it by the last Scrum Master or someone else in the team. But why? Your role as a Scrum Master is to question, why are we tracking these metrics? What are we trying to solve or improve with this metric? When joining a team as a new Scrum Master, I usually observe first 1 week, 2 weeks or 1 sprint, 2 sprints. Just observe. Don't tell them what to do. Don't facilitate any sessions. Just observe. See, are they currently tracking metrics? How do they use these metrics? What problems do they have? Can a metric help them improve, solve this issue, solve this impediment? Are they currently tracking this metric? Are they using it correctly? These are the kinds of questions that you need to be asking as a Scrum Master. Just don't track everything. The 7 metrics that we talked about earlier in this video, pretty good metrics, but all the teams are different. Every team is different. You need to find out what's their issue and what metrics can be used to solve their issue or help them improve. You need to be convinced first as a Scrum Master, especially for new Scrum Masters. Understand why we are tracking metrics. Really convince yourself first, then you can convince the others, because at the end of the day, you won't be telling them what to do. They are the experts. You all be facilitating the sessions, and it's not your responsibility to be tracking and monitoring the performance of these metrics. No, it's the team. Not any particular member, the team. Not you, the team. So they need to be convinced also. Which brings me to my next point. If you want more tips, insights on Agile, Scrum, personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now. And I'll see you in a few seconds.